For 10 years, Boeing's space launch system was the rocket, the crown jewel of NASA, the single most expensive rocket ever built by human hands. Then in March 19, 2026, NASA made a move that sent a shockwave through the entire aerospace industry. They stripped Boeing of its most important job and handed the keys to Elon Musk. This is the story of how a $4 billion rocket lost to a company that builds rockets and lands them back on the path. Okay, so let me put this in numbers so you can actually feel it. NASA's own Inspector General confirmed that the first 4 SLS missions would cost over $4 billion each. For context, SpaceX charges commercial customers around $67 million for a Falcon 9. The Starship, once operational, is estimated to drop that cost under $100 million for a fully reusable 100 metric ton to orbit vehicle. So, how did we get there? The Space Launch System was born in 2011 when NASA cancelled the Constellation program and Congress demanded a new super heavy rocket. Boeing was handed the contract to build roughly $23 billion over the lifetime of the project. The plan was always to upgrade the SLS over time at a more powerful upper stage called the Exploration Upper Stage, which would give it the thrust needed to actually send Orion on a direct path to the lunar orbit. But Boeing could not deliver it. Earlier this month, March 2026, NASA officially scrapped the EUS entirely. Years of development, hundreds of millions of dollars gone. The agency said it would no longer fund the upgrade. SLS would be frozen in its current form forever, and a rocket that can't grow cannot compete. So, what exactly did NASA just approve? Here's the original plan, and it seemed reasonable a decade ago. Step 1. SLS launches Orion from the Kennedy Space Center, carrying 4 astronauts. Step 2. SLS boosts Orion all the way towards the moon into a stretched elliptical path called a near-rectilinear halo orbit, or the NRHO. Step 3. Starship, already waiting in the lunar orbit, docks with Orion. Step 4. Astronauts transfer to the Starship, descend to the lunar surface. Clean, logical, expensive, and completely dependent on the SLS doing its job. The new plan, what NASA Administrator Gerard Isaacman is now calling the Artemis Revamp. It looks like this. Step 1. SLS launches Orion to a low Earth orbit only, and that's it. It's done for the SLS. Step 2. Starship launches separately, docks with Orion in the Earth orbit. Step 3. Starship, now acting as a tugboat, fires its engines and propels both vehicles to the moon. Step 4. Starship delivers the crew to a tighter, circular, low lunar orbit. Sometimes the SLS and the Orion actually couldn't achieve together on their own. Step 5. Astronauts descend on the lunar surface. Starship went from being a supporting actor to carrying the entire show. And Artemis 3, originally planned as NASA's first crew lunar landing over 50 years, is being restructured as a dress rehearsal, a 2027 Earth orbit test, docking, life support, suits, all tested with one on going to the moon. Think Apollo 9, not Apollo 11. The moon landing, that's now Artemis 4, 2028. Here's the question nobody in Washington wants to answer out loud. What if China gets there first? China's long March 9th. Their answer to the SLS is in active development. Beijing is publicly announced its goal of landing Taikonauts, their version of astronauts, on the moon before 2030. Some analysts believe they could move much faster. And here's the brutal reality NASA is facing. Every year, Boeing slipped, China didn't. NASA's new leadership looked at this picture and made a ruthlessly pragmatic calculation, the era of cost plus government contract, where delays are tolerated and budgets are unlimited. It's over. The moon race is not a metaphor, it's a race. Isaacman has set a target for monthly lunar missions by 2027, a campaign that only becomes possible if you have a reusable rocket. You cannot do monthly lunar missions with a rocket that costs over $4 billion to launch and gets thrown in the ocean every time. That image, a 70-meter rocket catching itself on a robotic arm, is not a stunt. It is economic argument, and that's why SpaceX won. But here is what the press releases won't tell you. It's not a done deal. NASA's own Inspector General released a report just a few weeks ago, warning the Starship's human landing system faces significant delays and may not be ready in time for the Artemis 3, even in its new scaled-back form. SpaceX has never completed a fully successful end-to-end orbital Starship flight. They haven't demonstrated orbital refueling. They haven't human-rated the vehicle. And Congress, with its billions of dollars of Boeing and Lockheed contracts in its districts, is watching. Any formal change to the Artemis architecture requires political survival, not just engineering approval. Isaacman holds a summit with Boeing, SpaceX and Blue Origin and Lockheed Martin on March 25, 2026. The outcome of the meeting could reshape the next decade of spaceflight. Here's what we know for certain. The era of expandable, government-funded mega-rockets born in Apollo age, preserved by political inertia and billing to the American taxpayer at $4 billion a flight, is dying, and something new is being born. Massive, risky and fast. Whether Elon Musk can actually deliver a crew-rated, lunar-capable Starship in 2 years is one of the most consequential engineering questions of our lifetime. But NASA just made their bet. $4 billion per flight or future of spaceflight. They choose the future. So I want to hear from you. Is NASA making a massive mistake by betting everything on a rocket that hasn't fully flown yet? Or is this the most rational decision they have made in 20 years? Drop it in the comments. And if you want a deep dive on how Starship orbital refueling actually works and why it's the hardest engineering problem standing between us and the moon, the video will be out soon. Stay tuned. Till that time, you can watch this video talking about the ancient history and the origin of rockets.